The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
I am very proud to announce today that we have reached a deal to end the shutdown and reopen the federal government.
Oh, my God.
As everyone knows, I have a very powerful alternative, but I didn't want to use it at this time.
Oh, shut up already, okay? No, it's the continuing resolution. It's what they voted on prior with 96 votes in the Senate, no dissent, voice vote, voted yesterday. Got 6 Republicans voting with the Democrats to put up Mitch McConnell's same bill. Only 6 Republicans were, somehow consistent in their voting. Everybody else front-running, phony, fake, fraud. And then all of a sudden this morning, the FBI, can you imagine this? The FBI is not getting paid, right? They're not getting paid. And yet this morning, we see the FBI showing up for work with gusto. Why? Because on their list of things to do today was arrest Roger Stone. Can you imagine that? The wife of an FBI agent, she says, honey, why are you going to work and risking your life? They're not even paying you. And he goes, well, I got to go arrest Roger Stone. Have a great day, dear. Don't forget, I'll be here waiting for you. Oh, this was so great. So a couple things, a couple big things here. The government is now open until February the 15th. Trump has threatened already to close it again on February the 15th if he doesn't get a stupid wall, because there is no stupid wall money in this continuing resolution. He has completely and utterly backed down. He has retreated. He has shown how weak he is. He has shown that he doesn't know anything about negotiation. He got his butt beat by Nancy Pelosi twice in 1 week. Oh, my God. So for those of you out here who have, issues with Nancy Pelosi's policy positions, fair. But do not question this woman's ability to negotiate, to strategize. She is the right person to take on that grifter. She is the right person in the right position at the right time in the right place for the right freaky president. I mean, this is just unbelievable. So congratulations to us. Congratulations to the air traffic. And another thing happened this morning, too, just so you know. Newark Airport, they had some people call in sick who were probably really sick because air traffic controllers, you can't even take, I got my Mucinex. Well, you can't take Mucinex the night before. You can't take NyQuil the night before and go and be an air traffic controller in the morning. Isn't that something? No, you have to be clear-eyed, clear-minded, and, not under the influence of, anything, not even Mucinex. So some people, it's freezing up there. It's freezing. I'm down here. It's like, it's in the 60s today. We're all like, ooh, brr, it's so cold. But it's like minus 20. Okay, up there in upstate New York and stuff. And so some people are probably really legitimately sick, and they are so shorthanded. The non-essential, calling people essential and non-essential just reeks of Nazism. I hate those expressions. I really do. And how do you tell somebody your job is non-essential and then, come on back to work and do your very, very best? You know what they consider non-essential is like the people who hire air traffic controllers. It's very sick. However, that said, people were sick today, and enough people were sick today that they weren't able to handle all the traffic. They had to combine airspace with the air traffic controllers who were available. And so in combining the airspace so that it could be safely controlled by the fewer number of people, they had to limit the number of lanes available, thereby limit the number of flights that could be aloft at the same time. So this caused a ground stop in New York City. Main hub, Newark, main hub, Philly, hub. And so there was this big ground stop, okay? And they were reporting about it breathlessly this morning. President had to have seen that on the TV. President had to know that he was losing this battle with idiot boy Wilbur Ross's oh my God moment yesterday. By the way, thank you to the newspapers. They actually did a little research. You know how Wilbur Ross yesterday was sitting there telling you that you should, if you don't get paid for a month, you should go to your credit union and use the guarantee of your back pay as collateral to get a loan? As if they would do that. Turns out that the Commerce Department, where the vice chair of the money laundering Bank of Cyprus, Wilbur Ross, used to work, has a credit union. And you know what they charge? 9%. So you'd be losing 10% of your salary if you went, as if they would make that loan. I mean, it was just so ridiculous. So he was losing it. He was losing the messaging war. He was losing the support of the people. He was losing everything. And then the ground stopped today. I mean, the whole thing was just about to break. It was at its breaking point, which we were telling you yesterday. It's at its breaking point. And there was a national day of action. I told you it was time for national protests, and they were going to happen on Tuesday. People were just going to woo out in the streets. So he had to open the government. He had to back down. Plus, I'm sure because he's up tweeting at like 5 in the morning, he saw what we saw. And that is, time's up, baby. Time is up. They got Roger Stone this morning. Look at this. Watch this. This is the actual footage. Morning. Warrant. And there's Roger in the doorway. Being handcuffed. All right. Woohoo. And taken away. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, dickhead. Bye-bye. See you in Attica. I know. He's out already. He's out on $250,000 bail. Had to surrender his passport. And the indictment is just breathtaking. It truly is. And you know who I'm really happy for? My friend, Randi Credico. Randi Credico has been, he has had the weight of the world taken off of his shoulders today. This poor little bastard. You know, I'm going to read the indictment to you. We're going to go through it. And what I've done is I've gone through the indictment, and wherever it says, person one, person two, whatever, we now know enough that we can write in those names and read through this indictment in a clear, concise, consistent manner that is understandable, because we won't have to say, person one, person two. We could put the names to it, and it's like super, super easy to understand. We also know who, company one was, and we know who, this person over here was. So we'll read it. And, I got to tell you, I am so happy. I am so happy and relieved for my friend, Randi Credico, who, obviously interviewed Julian Assange on his radio show, which he doesn't have anymore, but was threatened so badly by Roger Stone. I mean, his life was threatened. You know what's crazy? Your faithful talk show host, me, didn't I tell you that this reminded me so much of The Godfather 2 and the Frank Panther? And you know what's really interesting is watching all these news people who have never seen Godfather 1 and 2, let alone can start the movie and say every word of the movie, beginning with Godfather 1 and ending with Godfather 2. It's offensive, okay? It's offensive. I've heard Fred Pantangeli, Fred Pantagelli, Frankie, Pangagoli. Oh, shut up. Stop it. You don't know what you're talking about. But it's actually in the indictment. The name Frank Pantangeli is in the indictment. You know why? Roger Stone, talking to Randi Credico, told Randi Credico he should pull a Frank Pantangeli, meaning he should go to Congress and pretend he doesn't have the information that he really has to protect his own life. Seriously, dude, you are one sick sucker. And you know, I want to see him go to, I mean, I know he's out. This is a freaky man who's got a Nixon tattoo that's bigger than life size. I mean, it's bigger than Nixon's life size face, okay? It's his entire back. Like an MS-13 thing, you know, back there. He's got a big-ass tattoo of Richard. I mean, he's going to have to go into a gang mitigation program in prison. They won't even know, you know, where do we put him? Does he go with the white supremacists? Where does he go with the radical dudes? Where does he go? Does he go with the, the political criminals? We don't know. So they got Roger Stone today. And, you know, this is a speaking indictment, as most of them are. And he lays out the whole Roger Stone portion of the story. Now, remember, you know, they're all sitting there. Sarah's in it. She is one for the record books, man. She really is. I mean, this is Roger Stone. Who is Roger Stone? He has nothing to do with it. This is like the last scene in Working Girl. Please get in the elevator, Orrin. This girl is my secretary. She has nothing to do with us. Oh, my God. It's like so sick. She is so evil.
Read you a paragraph from this 24-page indictment. It says, after the July 22nd, 2016 release of stolen DNC emails by Organization 1, that's WikiLeaks,
right,
a senior Trump campaign official was directed to contact Stone about any additional releases and what other damaging information Organization 1 had regarding the Clinton campaign. The question is, a senior Trump campaign official was directed by whom to contact Roger Stone? Did the president direct someone to contact Roger Stone about stolen emails?
Look, John, I'm not an attorney. I haven't read through that. Even if I had, I'm not going to be able to provide you some type of insider legal analysis. What I can tell you is that the specific charges that have been brought against Mr. Stone don't have anything to do with the president. Well, if you want to get into the weeds on that, you have to talk to an attorney.
In this case, it's not the weeds. We only know if it had something to do with the president when we know whether it was, in fact, then candidate Donald Trump who directed a senior Trump campaign official to contact Roger Stone. Do you know whether that individual was the president?
Look, I know that the charges are about whether or not he gave false statements, and that's on that individual. That has nothing to do with the president. Those are the charges that they have brought against this individual. When you want to get into specific questions, you'll have to talk to the president's outside counsel on that.
No, we don't have to talk to the president's outside counsel about that. We have to talk to somebody who was in the Trump campaign. You were in the Trump campaign. Kellyanne Conway was in the Trump campaign. David Bossie, Michael Glassner, Jim Murphy, Steve Bannon. We know one of the people in that sentence is Steve Bannon. He's the senior campaign official that they're referring to there. So the question to Sarah is, who directed Steve Bannon to contact Roger Stone and find out when the next tranches of documents were going to be released by WikiLeaks? Well, according to their management and strategy chart, there was nobody above Steve Bannon. He was the executive chairman, which means somebody senior to Steve Bannon has to be Trump. Oh, it has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. Pay no attention. Orrin, get on this elevator.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We have some major breaking news in the Mueller investigation. Let's get right to it. Sarah Murray now joining us by phone. Sarah, tell us exactly what just happened.
This is like 6 o'clock in the morning.
We are learning that Roger Stone, who is President Trump's longtime political advisor, was arrested at his home in Fort Lauderdale this morning. He has been indicted. This has now been confirmed both by Roger Stone's attorney as well as the special counsel's office. I believe we also have some exclusive video from this morning. So he was indicted. It says it's on 7 counts, 1 of obstruction of justice of an official proceeding, 5 counts of false statements, and 1 count of witness tampering.
Witness tampering. That's
Roger
Randi.
Stone, of course, as we know, has been under scrutiny from the special counsel for years, basically. We've seen about a dozen of his associates interviewed before the grand jury, and Stone's team had no idea that this was coming today. I talked to his lawyer last night. They said they still had heard no word from the special counsel whatsoever. So it was a huge surprise this morning that they showed up and they took Roger Stone into custody this morning.
Sarah, do you know who arrested him? What agency?
We believe it is the FBI that arrested him at his home this morning. To be honest, I have to tell you, I called his lawyer to let him know as soon as we were getting word that Stone was taken into custody, and we found out about this before his lawyer did.
How did CNN know? See, this is Trump's big conspiracy question this morning. How did CNN know? Is the special counsel leaking? How did they know? I'll tell you how they knew. It's great reporting. It's called journalism. Yesterday, now here's an interesting factoid. The grand jury usually does not meet on Thursday. I don't know why, but that's their practice. They don't meet on Thursdays. But they did yesterday. They did because they had to receive a witness. And the witness they had to receive yesterday, the testimony they had to hear yesterday, was from Jerome Corsi's stepson, Andrew Stettner. Why did Jerome Corsi's stepson have to testify in front of the grand jury? Because Jerome Corsi tasked his stepson with scrubbing his computer of all these emails that are mentioned in this indictment. And so they needed to know from Jerome Corsi's stepson if he scrubbed his stepfather's computer. And it only took an hour for him to answer the questions, according to his lawyer, that right-wing lunatic Larry Klayman. And so I guess he told the truth that, yes, he scrubbed the computer of his stepfather, Jerome Corsi. Now, Jerome Corsi's story is, well, yeah, my computer was scrubbed because I asked him to refurbish my computer and remove all the emails from the campaign so I could then, repurpose that computer and give it to my wife so she could use. I mean, come on. If you were part of a campaign to elect somebody president and you succeeded, Jerome Corsi is like the Washington, D.C. bureau chief for Alex Jones's fake news network InfoWars. Roger Stone is a contributor to InfoWars. The two of them are associates, Corsi and Stone. And they get this man elected by, cheating and by getting dirt that was hacked from Russia and putting it out into the wider, American public's hands. Would you erase that or would you keep it so that you could write your damn book? I mean, just a question. So his son testified yesterday. Well, the CNN reporters and other news outlets who care about this stuff. I mean, when you read these things on Politico, or you read these things on, the Daily Beast or Huffington Post or Vanity Fair or the New York Times or the Washington, don't you know how they're getting this stuff? They're getting it by showing up. They're showing up at the grand jury. They're showing up where the lawyers file their papers. They're showing up. And so yesterday, they were there. And they saw this guy, Jerome Corsi's stepson. They saw Andrew Stettner. I never knew his name before. They knew that he had given state's evidence on his stepfather and that the fact that Jerome Corsi scrubbed his computer. This was probably all they needed to release this particular indictment because Jerome Corsi is the intermediary between WikiLeaks and Roger Stone, although it becomes very painfully obvious in this indictment that Roger Stone was, just like we saw those direct messages that idiot boy Roger Stone released, although they were redacted, they were edited to favor him. But the fact that he was talking to Guccifer 2.0 in direct messages means Roger Stone knew that the DNC was hacked, knew Podesta was hacked, and knew that WikiLeaks had those hacked emails. And then on the part of disbursement, how to get them out and when to release them, you had senior campaign officials who are Steve Bannon, maybe Paul Manafort at one point or another, but not mentioned here. But every time this indictment speaks about senior campaign officials, it's plural. It's plural. So there's more than one. And then you have a person in this indictment, a unknown person, who's not really characterized, not really his persona is not really fleshed out the way other people are so that you know who they are, directing a senior campaign official, which we know is Steve Bannon, to contact WikiLeaks. Steve Bannon is directed by somebody senior to him to contact Roger Stone to find out when the next tranche of documents will be released. Now, like I said, the key campaign staff and advisors list has them in order of seniority, and Steve Bannon is at the top as executive chairman of the Trump campaign. His only prior cred on this, advisors list, his only prior street cred is Breitbart News. So anyway, the only person senior to him would be the candidate himself, would be Donald Trump himself. So, I mean, I'm not the only one who thinks that. I'm not the only one who read this. I'm not the only one who knows this. It's this key sentiment, this key portion happens pretty early in this indictment on page 4. On page 4 of the indictment, there is paragraph 12. Paragraph 12 says, after the July 22nd, 2016 release of stolen DNC emails by WikiLeaks, a senior Trump campaign official, we know that's Steve Bannon because we have the emails, was directed. Directed is a very specific word. Directed means ordered. Directed means commanded, instructed, told to. So let's read this with the names filled in. After the July 22nd, 2016 release of stolen DNC emails by WikiLeaks, Steve Bannon was directed to contact Stone about any additional releases and what other damaging information WikiLeaks had regarding the Clinton campaign. Stone thereafter told the Trump campaign about potential future releases of damaging material by WikiLeaks. So the big question here is, who is the person who directed Steve Bannon? Here's some people opining.
By in or around June and July 2016, Stone informed senior Trump campaign officials that he had information indicating Organization 1 had documents whose release would be for damaging to the Clinton campaign. After the July 22, 2016 release of stolen DNC emails by Organization 1, a senior Trump campaign official was directed to contact Stone about any additional releases and what other damaging information Organization 1, that's WikiLeaks, had regarding the Clinton campaign. Stone thereafter told the Trump campaign about potential future releases of damaging material by Organization 1. Again, that's WikiLeaks. Jeffrey Toobin, to you, you've had a chance to read through this indictment. This is the first direct link that the special counsel has made, in my mind, between the Trump campaign and the WikiLeaks information.
And I think that may be an extremely important use of the passive voice in that indictment. Was directed. Who directed Trump campaign officials? It sounds to me, and again, I only want to say it just sounds to me like that could be Donald Trump himself.
Yeah, think.
Because that, who else would direct campaign officials to be in touch with Stone? I mean, that it is highly suggestive that the candidate Trump himself told his officials to get in touch with Stone and find out what's going on. Remember, of course, this is while he was campaigning saying, I love WikiLeaks. So it's not like he thought WikiLeaks is the outlaw organization that his CIA director later described it to be. Right. This, I think, the use of the passive voice in that sentence is extremely interesting and potentially important.
Yes, it is. So, you know, here's other people opining. Here's James Clapper reacting to Roger Stone's arrest.
Based on these series of communications that Stone was having with senior Trump campaign officials, often in advance of WikiLeaks releases, emails stolen, we know, by Russia, what does that show to you? Is that evidence, in your view, of coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia?
Well, it does to me, and I say that not as an attorney, but just as a layman, and I think clearly it does show a connection, coordination, synchronization, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just mention something that I wrote about in my book, which is the striking parallels and similarities between what the Russians were saying and doing and what the Trump campaign was saying and doing, particularly and specifically about Hillary Clinton.
Director Clapper, it's Poppy here. Listening to the White House, just in case you missed it, let me quickly play for you how Sarah Sanders sees this as it is in relation to the president. Let's roll it, guys.
Simple. This has nothing to do with the president and certainly nothing to do with the White House. This is something that has to do solely with that individual and not something that affects us here in this building.
Having read the indictment, I mean, is that true? What's your take on that?
Well, I think the White House denials are getting increasingly hollow, and they simply don't pass the giggle test. So I think to assert that this has nothing to do with the president, either as a president or as a candidate or the White House, is just silly.
Oh, it's just silly at this point. Yeah. So there is our James Clapper, our DNI. You have these people that actually, alerted the American people way earlier than you might remember that the DNC was hacked, and the DNC knew that they were hacked very early. The DNC told the intelligence community that they were hacked. They had hired a private company to do the forensics on the intrusion, and it was clear early that the Russians had done it. And while the information was out there that it was the Russians that had done it, you had Roger Stone communicating with Russian intelligence under the, a pseudonym of Guccifer 2.0. You had Donald Trump Jr. talking to Guccifer 2.0. You had Steve Bannon instructing Roger Stone to tell him when the next tranches of documents were going to be laid out. You had Jerome Corsi texting and emailing Roger Stone, telling him inside information about what when WikiLeaks was going to, show these new documents. You had a frantic effort the day of the Access Hollywood tapes, okay, when Trump was clearly shown to be a molester of women, a sexual predator, a guy who literally grabs women uninvited, kisses them uninvited, puts his hands on their genitalia uninvited, right? You have all this happening, and that day, you have Roger Stone telling Jerome Corsi in writing. I mean, these people are not too bright. Get to Ted Malloch, who also worked for Breitbart, for InfoWars, sorry, getting my right-wing rags confused. Yeah, they have Ted Malloch, who's based in London, who's, working for InfoWars, and Jerome Corsi's working for InfoWars, and Roger Stone is working for InfoWars, and they're saying to each other, we need to, Stone is saying to Corsi, get to Ted Malloch in London, get him to go visit Julian Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Get him to tell you, get him to release documents today. Do it. And Corsi does it. He does it. So that everybody, in Trump land would forget about the Access Hollywood and would concentrate on, a tranche of emails that showed absolutely nothing about Hillary Clinton and John Podesta. I mean, nothing bad except the great risotto recipe, right? I mean, and then Corsi is intimidated by Roger Stone. Stone is conveying this information on WikiLeaks, and he's doing it knowing that Russia hacked. And he's giving the information that Corsi is getting from another InfoWars freak in London. He's giving it to Bannon and other senior Trump campaign officials. And then somebody senior to Bannon, who could only be Donald Trump, wanted more of it. He wanted more. Now, what you have to remember is all this is going on in August, September, October, right? The information that the DNC was hacked, the information that it was the Russians who did it, we've known that since May of 2016. So in May, we know it's the Russians, and all this stuff is going on all through the spring and summer.
Connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. This is the first indictment where it becomes clear that the special counsel believes that the Trump campaign knew about the hacks before this material was made public. And remember, one of the key charges in this case so far is of the Russians engaged in the hacks. Now, this is related to WikiLeaks, and the key phrases, I think, from this indictment are that a senior Trump official was directed to contact Stone about additional releases and about future releases.
July 2016.
Correct. And in August, Stone is requesting specific stolen emails from particular dates. In October, a high-ranking Trump official is asking about the status of future releases. An associate of a Trump official tells Stone after the fact, well done.
Who is that?
And one of the charges here is false and misleading statements about communications with the Trump campaign, and that he spoke with multiple people in the campaign
that's
about
the
what
point
he
I wanted to get to. We don't know who all these individuals are yet. This will come out as we continue our digging over the course of the day. But multiple people in the Trump campaign knew about what Stone was doing. He was in contact with them.
That's right. But the most important point to me is, who was he talking to before anything was released? If you want to talk about lying to people in the Trump campaign, lying about conversations you had with people in the Trump campaign after this was released, that's very different in terms of the big picture than who in the Trump campaign knew that this stuff existed before it was released.
Well, Steve Bannon knew, obviously. Donald Trump knew because he is standing on stages saying, Russia, if you're listening, I hope you can find, right? And that's in July. Well, in May, we knew the Russians hacked the DNC. In July, the president is standing on the stage asking Russia for more. We have Steve Bannon being directed by somebody senior to him to get more information about the next document dumps in October. August. This is going on. This is so damaging. The only thing about this, though, is this is particular to what Roger Stone did. And what Roger Stone is accused of doing in here is not just lying to the House Intelligence Committee, not just lying to the Senate Intelligence Committee, but intimidating a witness. That witness is Randy Credico. And, concealing information to obstruct the Mueller investigation. He's asked specific questions. He's asked, do you have any documents? Do you have any emails? Do you have any text messages? And he lies. He says, no, he doesn't. And of course he does, because we have them. And what he put Randy Credico, oh my God, he threatened to, this is just an amazing thing. It is just absolutely disgusting. Just disgusting. Now, I just want to tell you, our lines are probably so freaking busy right now because only one of them is working. So I'll just have to take you one at a time. So, Jay in Nevada.
Hi, Randy. Nice talking to you again.
You too.
I think Donald Trump opened up the government today because of what happened with Roger Stone.
Probably.
Because every time that Robert Mueller has come out with something, Trump has to outdo what he just came out with.
Right.
And it is ridiculous, and I've called it NSOC before, with all the dots that have connected with Russia, Trump, and all his associates, everybody says it's a witch hunt. You have the Trump Tower, it's a hidden secret for a year and a half. Then it comes out, they say they're talking about adoption. An email comes out, says it's talking about Hillary information and blah, 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 blah. How many frickin' dots have to connect before you can say there is some type of collusion, connection, communication between the Trump and Russia and WikiLeaks?
Well, I don't know what people are waiting for. I mean, the coordination is obviously there. And in this indictment, there's definitely a conspiracy. There's definitely cooperation. There's definitely, conveying of, ill-gotten material. There's Roger Stone talking to the Russian intelligence officers. Donald Trump Jr. is mentioned in this indictment talking to Russian intelligence officers. The information that the ill-gotten goods were gotten by a Russian hack was known as early as May. In June is the Trump Tower meeting where Natalia Veselnitskaya says we have dirt. Papadopoulos is over in London getting drunk off his ass, and he's telling the Australian ambassador that the Russians have dirt on Hillary Clinton. So it was known to even the lower level staffers on this small campaign that the Russian hack got dirt on Hillary Clinton. The meeting at Trump Tower was set up to convey to Donald Trump Jr., to Manafort, to Jared, that the Russian government had dirt and they would support Donald Trump. Then in August, you have a coordination between the disseminator of this hacked material, WikiLeaks, and Roger Stone. You also have Roger Stone continuing to talk to Guccifer on direct messages. You have Donald Trump Jr. talking to Guccifer on Twitter, direct messages. Of course there's coordination. Of course. And are they aware that this is, that this material was stolen by a foreign adversary? Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, because we all knew in May, and that's a very important point.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have Giuliani trying to put a spin on it every time he talks. What kind of guy who talks about people saying that they're liars is sitting on TV lying himself about facts and information in regards to trying to make Trump's idiotic followers believe only what they're saying?
A man whose wagon is hitched to Donald Trump's. A man who is in trouble. A man who, if Donald Trump goes down, he goes down.
Right.
And the same thing with Kellyanne Conway. You have to remember, Kellyanne ran Rudy Giuliani's presidential. I'm sorry, that was Jason Miller. These are all the left. Okay, Jason Miller ran Giuliani's. Kellyanne ran Ted Cruz's. Okay?
Right, and called Trump
and
Trump
Steve King.
Bag.
Kellyanne Conway ran Steve King in Iowa's race. Okay, she was in charge of that.
It's amazing, and Donald Trump would have no problem pardoning these people who are criminals in a sense of you lie to the FBI or Congress, and he wants to put Hillary in jail because he thinks she lied, but he wants to pardon these people, or he praises these people for lying to our own government as he is degrading and diminishing their power and what they have done for 100 plus years since FBI has been involved, and CIA and everybody's Secret Service, and he is degrading our security of our presidencies and our government. It's just degrading, and I don't understand why in 2019 there are so many idiotic people out there that are willing to side with this guy, that if President Obama did 10% of what he's doing, they would have impeached him, they would have lynched him, they would have thrown him in prison.
No doubt. I mean, there's no doubt. Now, just let's remember that Hillary Clinton was thoroughly investigated by the FBI.
For 40 years almost.
I mean, really. But with regard to the documents, the emails and stuff like that, there was zero evidence that any foreign adversary had ever seen her emails, okay, that they had ever had access to them. And there was no intent for her to give classified information to a foreign government. This is not the case with Donald Trump. Not only is there intent to take material stolen from Hillary Clinton's party, okay, to damage her, but they know that it's Russia that took it. They know that it's Russia that committed the crime of hacking. And the evidence is clear that there was an intent to use that to damage her. And yet they sit here and they say, lock her up. For what? For what?
for 35 years, the Clintons have been investigated and never have been found to have done anything.
Well,
in a criminal sense.
No criminal. He parsed words about having an affair with Monica Lewinsky, and I think that he probably asked her not to tell the whole truth about their affair. So, and because not knowing that these disgusting right-wing operatives, these disgusting right-wing lunatics, Lucianne Goldberg and Linda Tripp, were tape recording a 24-year-old girl who was crying her eyes out because she had fallen in love with Bill Clinton. She had fallen in love with the president. And how did she have access to the president? They shut down, Newt Gingrich had shut down the government. Yeah. And she was an intern at the Pentagon, and she got moved over to the White House because the White House staff was furloughed in another government shutdown. And she's crying her eyes out and spilling her heart and guts out to Linda Tripp, who's running a tape recorder on her. I mean, now we know Omarosa tape recorded Donald Kelly, rather, and we know that Cohen was tape recording Donald Trump. These are the people that we're dealing with here. These disgusting people who turn on each other regularly, who set other people up to take the fall in order to get a Clinton, in order to get a Democrat, in order to get somebody.
Right, and the people that support Trump, he has no problem throwing them under the bus to save his fat
But
ass.
they'll all do it. You see, that's why I played that little clip from Ari, like not yesterday, the day before. Ari Melber had Jerome Corsi, Michael Caputo.
Yeah, I watched that.
And in less than 5 minutes, they turned on each other.
Yeah, I saw that towards the end. They were all putting little digs into each other.
Because Roger Stone.
And then the report. Huh?
Because Roger Stone compromised all of them. He said, at some part in this whole looking for a patsy thing, he had written an email to Sam Nunberg, and he said to Sam Nunberg, I had dinner with Julian Assange, setting up Sam Nunberg, right, so that Sam Nunberg, he could find out if he would testify against Roger Stone. I mean, the whole, they set each other up. They do it all the time. And if you're a 24-year-old intern, you're not immune from their little games. If you're a stand-up comic like Randy Credico, who, wandered into radio, I wanted to do what he did, right? And that was a mistake. And he wanted to do what I did, and that was a mistake. We should stay in our lanes. He's good at what he does. I'm good at what I do. But anyway, he interviews Julian Assange way after this all happens, right?
Right.
And Roger Stone said, well, you talked to Julian Assange. You talked to him. I mean, he was on your show. And Randy Credico is saying to him, do not make me your back channel. You told me you had a back channel. And that back channel was Jerome Corsi.
Right. Well, it's amazing. Trump has been in office 730 days, 5 hours and 8 minutes. I'm looking at
and he has told
here.
9,000 lies.
And there has been turmoil each and every day of this presidency, and his main thing was if Hillary was president, she would be under FBI investigation.
Right. That was
God.
That was one of the things they told us when they projected. Okay, they stood there. First of all, they told you they cared about the working guy, and they just stiffed almost 2 million people. Just stiffed them out of 2 weeks' pay. Didn't even just use them as pawns.
Did you hear? I forget the old man's name.
Oh, it looks like the phone's working again.
I forgot the old man's name, but he says that the federal workers should go get a loan because it's a
Wilbur
guarantee.
Ross. Listen,
he's a dummy billionaire who doesn't know you cannot go get a loan.
Don't just call him a dummy billionaire. Identify him. Wilbur Ross is the guy who, when the miners died, told him it was their own fault. Okay, didn't want to pay.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then also, he was the vice chair of the Russian money laundering bank, the Bank of Cyprus, that I still feel is the mystery bank.
I've heard you talk about that, yeah.
Okay, and Wilbur Ross was the vice chairman of it, okay, and the other vice chair is a Russian. It's just so interesting, isn't it? And Wilbur Ross stayed at the Bank of Cyprus right up until the day he became our Commerce Secretary. He's the one that told these guys, screw you, go get a loan. And then we find out that the Commerce Department does have a credit union, and they charge 9%. Yeah, 9% to get a loan from the Commerce Department's own credit union.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you say he's a rich billionaire, make sure everybody knows how he made his money.
Well, if Trump gets another 4 years, I'm going to have to sign up for Rosetta Stone and learn frickin' Russian.
Yeah, or Spanish and move. I know. I've been staring down that option for a really long time. I'm sitting here saying, you know, should I grow the business here? Should I, or
Thank you, Randy, for taking my call.
You're welcome. Or should I just get the hell out of here while the getting's good before he revokes everybody's passport and you can't get out? Seriously. It looks like the phone is fixed. So if you have something to say today, today's the day. I mean, like I said, we'll go through this indictment. We'll go through it. It's pretty long, but I think we can get through it in maybe a half an hour. I'm going to try. Because I did it, it's 23 pages. I think I did it filling in the names in an hour. So I think we can read it in a half an hour. But you need to know this stuff. This timeline is super important. And just to sum it up, because I can make, this is the beauty of me. Simple, right? We knew in May that the Russians hacked the DNC. In June, there was a Trump Tower meeting where the Russians were promising this dirt. They say nothing came of it, but we saw all this dirt, which I've been saying forever. And then in August, September, October, Trump is standing on a stage, Russia, if you're listening, in July. August, September, October, they want to know when's the next load? When's the next load? When's the next load? Roger Stone is talking to Jerome Corsi. Jerome Corsi is in charge of contacting WikiLeaks, getting the next dump, trying to find out. Okay? Meanwhile, throughout this, knowing the Russians hacked in May, throughout this summer and fall, Junior, Trump, they're talking to Russian intelligence. They're talking to Guccifer. Guccifer gives Roger Stone some info. He goes, what do you think of this? He goes, oh, pretty standard stuff. He defends Guccifer, says he's a Romanian. He's a Russian.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
I don't believe that I will be charged in any crime that relates to Russian collusion or WikiLeaks collaboration or John Podesta's fakakta emails, which I have no advance notice or knowledge of.
God, is he
I'm
lying?
certainly guilty of bluffing and posturing and punking the Democrats unless they pass some law against bullshit and I missed it. I'm engaging in tradecraft. It's politics. I'm sure it's driving the Democrats crazy, but there's nothing illegal about it.
Summer of 2016, you say that there's stuff coming, and you also say that you've had communication with Julian Assange.
I actually have communicated with Assange. I believe the next tranche of his documents pertain to the Clinton Foundation.
Do you regret making that statement?
Well, it's an overstatement. I also clarify it in 100 interviews, including several with you. I make it clear that my communication is not direct, but it's through a third party who simply assures me that what Assange said on CNN in June is accurate, that there is a treasure trove of documents or information on Hillary, and it will be published. And I'm told it will be published in October. And there is, and it is, and it does change the campaign.
WikiLeaks has posted thousands of emails hacked from Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, and they could offer a new perspective on...
Well, with the camera rolling, tell us, once and for all, what you were relying on to make those statements in August of 2016, and then the statements that you made later that summer and fall.
As I have said, Randy Credico, who is a colleague of mine at that point, he assures me through his own sources that Assange really has devastating information on Hillary, and he's really going to publish it.
What other sources of information did you have?
Well, I had a secondary source, a fellow by the name of Charles Ortel, had forwarded me an email in which James Rosen tells Judge Andrew Napolitano that there are WikiLeaks disclosures coming and they regard the Clinton Foundation. That turns out to be inaccurate, but that's the source of my claim in front of the Broward Republican organization. But let's come back to a more seminal question. If someone received information from Assange, or if someone communicated with Assange, why would that be illegal?
Okay, we're going to show you why it would be illegal. Because, here's the indictment. In or around May of 2016, the Democratic National Committee and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee became aware that their computer systems had been compromised by unauthorized intrusions, and they hired a security company to identify the extent of those intrusions. On or about June 14th, 2016, the DNC publicly announced that it had been hacked by Russian government actors. From in or around July 2016 through in or around November, the election, 2016, WikiLeaks, which had previously posted documents stolen by others from U.S. persons, entities, and the U.S. government, released tens of thousands of documents stolen from the DNC and the personal email account of John Podesta, chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign. I'm just filling in the names. On or about July 22nd, WikiLeaks released documents stolen from the DNC. Between on or about October 7th, 2016 and November 7th, 2016, WikiLeaks released approximately 33 tranches of documents that had been stolen from the personal email account of the Clinton campaign chairman, totaling over 50,000 stolen documents. Roger Jason Stone Jr. Jason, really? Was a political consultant who worked for decades in U.S. politics and on U.S. political campaigns. Stone was an official on the U.S. presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump until August 2015 and maintained regular contact and publicly supported the Trump campaign through the 2016 election. During the summer of 2016, Trump spoke to, and this is plural now, senior Trump campaign officials about WikiLeaks and information it might have had that would be damaging to the Clinton campaign. Stone was contacted by senior Trump campaign officials. I know one of them is Steve Bannon because I have the email that shows that. But this is plural, so there's more than one, to inquire about future releases by WikiLeaks. By in or around early August 2016, Stone was claiming both publicly and privately to have communicated with WikiLeaks. By mid-August 2016, WikiLeaks made a public statement denying direct communication with Stone. Thereafter, Stone said that his communication with WikiLeaks had occurred through a person Stone described as a mutual friend, a go-between, and intermediary. Stone continued to communicate with members, plural, of the Trump campaign about WikiLeaks and its intended future releases. After the 2016 election, presidential election, the House of Representatives Permanent Committee on Intelligence, I'll just call it the Senate Intelligence Committee, and we'll call it the House Intelligence Committee, and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, we'll call it the Senate Intel Committee from now on, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, we'll call it the FBI, opened or announced their respective investigations into Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, which included investigating Roger Stone's claims of contact with WikiLeaks. In response, Stone took steps to obstruct these investigations. Among other steps to obstruct, Stone, A, made multiple false statements to the House Intelligence Committee about his interactions regarding WikiLeaks and falsely denied possessing records that contained evidence of these interactions, and B, attempted to persuade a witness, this is Randi Credico, to provide false testimony and to withhold pertinent information from the investigation. All right, here's where we get into person 1 and 2. Person 1 is Jerome Corsi in this thing. Jerome Corsi was a political commentator who worked with InfoWars during the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign. Jerome Corsi spoke regularly with Stone throughout the campaign, including about the release of the stolen documents by WikiLeaks. Person 2, that's Randi Credico. Randi Credico was a radio host who had known Stone for more than a decade. And the reason why Randi knows Roger Stone is because they both fought against Rockefeller drug laws, because they were both very, very well. Randi Credico was a drug addict. He's not anymore. And Roger Stone is addicted to marijuana, if that's at all possible. But, you know, a lot of people want it. But that's the thing. So they had that in common, and that's why they know each other. Randi Credico was a radio host who had known Stone for more than a decade. In testimony before the House Intelligence Committee on September 26, 2017, Stone described Randi Credico, without naming him, as an intermediary, go-between, and mutual friend to the head of WikiLeaks. And in a follow-up letter to the House Intelligence Committee on October 13th, Stone identified Randi Credico by name and claimed Randi Credico was, quote, the gentleman who confirmed for Mr. Stone that the head of WikiLeaks had, quote, emails related to Hillary Clinton, which are pending publication. By June and July 2016, Stone informed senior Trump campaign officials, plural, now I know one of them is Bannon, that he had information indicating WikiLeaks had documents whose release would be damaging to the Clinton campaign. The head of WikiLeaks was located at all relevant times at the Ecuadorian embassy in London, UK. And this is the powerful paragraph that everybody pulled out. After the July 22nd, 2016 release of stolen DNC emails by WikiLeaks, a senior Trump campaign official was directed to contact Roger Stone about any additional releases and what other damaging information WikiLeaks had regarding the Clinton campaign. Well, we know who this is a singular, this isn't plural. This is a senior Trump campaign official was directed to. So that senior campaign official we know is Steve Bannon because we have that email. So who is more senior on the campaign than Steve Bannon, who is the executive chairman? Nobody except for Donald Trump himself. And that's why everybody stopped dead cold when they got to that paragraph. Stone thereafter told the Trump campaign about potential future releases of damaging material by WikiLeaks. Now, if that's not coordination, if that's not collaboration, if that's not collusion, if that's not a conspiracy to defraud the United States, I don't know what else to call it. Stone also corresponded with associates about contacting WikiLeaks in order to obtain additional emails damaging to the Clinton campaign. Associates, plural, but we know at least one of them is Jerome Corsi. On July 25th, 2016, Stone sent an email to Jerome Corsi, it's called Person 1, with the subject line, "Get to the head of WikiLeaks." The body of the message read, "Get to the head of WikiLeaks at Ecuadorian embassy in London and get the pending WikiLeaks emails. They deal with Clinton Foundation allegedly." On the same day, Jerome Corsi forwarded Stone's email to Ted Malloch, who lived in the UK and was a supporter of the Trump campaign and also was a regular on Alex Jones' show where Corsi, Stone, all worked. Ted Malloch worked there too. Just want to know where the epicenter of this crap was? That's where this crap was. That's who was making the payments. That's who was paying. On July 31st, 2016, Stone emailed Jerome Corsi with the subject line, "Call me Monday." The body of the email read in part that Jerome Corsi's associate in the United Kingdom, Ted Malloch, should go see the head of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. On August 2nd, Jerome Corsi emailed Roger Stone. Jerome Corsi wrote that he was currently in Europe and planned to return in or around mid-August. Corsi stated in part, quote, "Word is friend in embassy plans 2 more dumps. One shortly after I'm back, 2nd October. Impact planned to be very damaging." Friend in embassy is obviously Julian Assange. Jerome Corsi added in the same email, quote, "Time to let more than the Clinton campaign chairman be exposed as in bed with an enemy if they're not ready to drop HRC. That appears to be the game hackers are now about. Would not hurt to start suggesting HRC is old, her memory is bad, has had a stroke, and she is not well. I expect that much of the next dump focus setting the stage for Foundation debacle." All that happened. InfoWars started putting out that Hillary Clinton had had a stroke, that she was too old. Donald Trump is repeating it. She has no stamina, right? And by the way, enemy, Jerome Corsi says, time to let more than the Clinton campaign. That's time to let Podesta be exposed as in bed with enemy if he's not ready to drop Hillary Clinton. That's what that means. Let Podesta know that he's about to be exposed. His emails are going to be dumped. And it's time to let him know he needs to drop his management of Hillary Clinton's campaign because he's going to be exposed as being in bed with an enemy. And of course, we now know it's his brother who was lobbying for Ukraine at the same time Manafort was. That's what that means. Early August 2016, after receiving the August 2nd, 2016 email from Jerome Corsi, Stone made repeated statements about information he claimed to have learned from Julian Assange. On August 8th, 2016, Stone attended a public event. This is here in Florida, the Broward Republican organization. And he stated, quote, "I actually have communicated with WikiLeaks. I believe the next tranche of his documents pertain to the Clinton Foundation. But there's no telling what the October surprise may be." Well, that was Jerome Corsi telling him that. On August 12th, Stone stated during an interview that he was in communication with WikiLeaks, but was not at liberty to discuss what I have. On August 16th, Stone stated during an interview that it became known on this program, okay, because he's doing InfoWars. It became known on this program that I have had some back-channel communication with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. In a second interview on the same day, Stone said he communicated with the head of WikiLeaks and they had a mutual acquaintance who is a fine gentleman. On August 18th, Stone stated during a television interview that he had communicated with WikiLeaks through an intermediary, someone who has a mutual friend. Now, he's trying to pin this on Randy Credico, even now, at this point, okay? On August 23rd, Randy Credico asked Roger Stone during a radio interview. Here's what he said to him. He goes, "You've been in touch indirectly with WikiLeaks. Can you give us any kind of insight? Is there an October surprise happening?" Stone responds to Randy, "Well, first of all, I don't want to intimate in any way that I control or have influence with Julian Assange because I do not. We have a mutual friend, somebody we both trust, and therefore I am a recipient of pretty good information." That friend is Jerome Corsi. On August 19th, Stone exchanged written communications, including by text message and email, with Randi Credico about WikiLeaks and what Julian Assange had planned to do. So Stone is informing Randi Credico of what he found out from Jerome Corsi, hoping he would put it on his radio show. So August 19, Randi sends a text message to Roger Stone that reads in part, "I'm going to have Julian Assange on my show next Thursday." On August 21st, Randi Credico sent another text message to Stone, writing in part, "I have Julian Assange on Thursday, so I'm completely tied up on that day." On August 25th, Julian Assange was a guest on Randi Credico's radio show for the first time. This is the first time Randi Credico's ever spoken to Julian Assange. August. On August 26th, Randi Credico sent a text message to Stone that said, "Julian Assange talked about you last night." Stone asked what Julian Assange said. Randi responded, "He didn't say anything bad, but we were talking about how the press is trying to make it look like you and he are in cahoots." On August 27th, Randi sent text messages to Stone that said, "We are working on a Julian Assange radio show," and that Randi was in charge of that project. In a text message sent later that day, Randi added, "Julian Assange has kryptonite on Hillary." This isn't till August, okay? September 18th, Stone sends a text message to Randi Credico. The text says, "I'm emailing you a request to pass on to Julian Assange." Randi Credico responds, "Okay." And he adds later, "Just remember, do not name me as your connection to WikiLeaks because you had one before that you referred to on my show." That was Jerome Corsi. On the same day, September 18th, Roger Stone emailed Randi Credico an article with allegations against Hillary Clinton related to her service as Secretary of State. And Stone asked Randi, "Please ask Julian Assange for any state or HRC email from August 10 to 30, particularly August 20, 2011, that mention the subject of this article or confirm this narrative." On September 19th, Stone texted Randi Credico again, writing, "Pass my message to Julian Assange." Randi responds, "I did." On September 20th, Randi Credico forwarded the request, and I know who this is to a friend who was an attorney with the ability to contact Julian Assange. That friend, her name is Margaret Kunstler. Margaret Kunstler is Julian Assange's attorney. And the reason why Randi and Margaret Kunstler are friends is because Randi's hero in all the world always has been and always will be William Kunstler, the ACLU attorney, the civil rights attorney. The guy who represented the people at Wounded Knee who were killed. The guy who represented Bill Ayers, okay? William Kunstler, he died. And Margaret Kunstler is his wife. And she continued in William Kunstler's stead, representing people who are unpopular, who need civil rights protections. And Margaret Kunstler represents Julian Assange, agree or don't agree with, anything Julian Assange has done. That is who his lawyer is. And Randi Credico is friends with Margaret because William, her dead husband, her late husband, is Randi Credico's hero. So on September 20th, Randi Credico forwarded Roger Stone's request to Margaret Kunstler, who is Julian Assange's attorney. And Randi Credico blind copied Roger Stone on that email. On September 30th, Randi Credico sent Stone via a text message of Randi Credico standing outside the Ecuadorian embassy in London where Julian Assange was located, Well, we know because Randy Credico told me why he was there that day. He was there that day because we have a mutual friend who has since also passed away. His name is Barry Crimmins, and he was an amazing Boston stand-up comedian. He's the guy who used to let me MC their shows because he was that open-hearted. He was that kind. He was that good, and he thought, if I wanted to do this, Anyway, Rocky Sullivan's was the name of the bar, and every Tuesday we all went to Rocky Sullivan's, and that's how I know Randy Credico, from Rocky Sullivan's. Randy was in London to attend a show that Barry Crimmins was headlining in London. And while he was there, he thought it would be funny if he stopped by the embassy, the Ecuadorian embassy, and took a photograph. That's why Randy Credico was in London. So he forwarded a photograph of him standing outside the Ecuadorian embassy to Roger Stone. On October 1st, which was a Saturday, Randy Credico sent Roger Stone text messages and said, "Big news Wednesday. Now pretend you don't know me. Hillary's campaign will die this week." In the days before this message, the press had reported that Julian Assange planned to make a public announcement on Tuesday, October 4th. It was the 10-year anniversary of the founding of WikiLeaks. And Julian was going to get out on the balcony of the embassy. And so that's why Randy said that. On October 2nd, Stone emailed Randy Credico with the subject line, "WTF," with a link to an article reporting that WikiLeaks was canceling its highly anticipated Tuesday announcement due to security concerns. Randy responded, "Head fake." On that same day, October 2nd, Stone texted Randy Credico and asked if WikiLeaks backed off. On October 3rd, Randy Credico initially responded, "I can't talk about it." After further exchanges with Stone, Randy said, "I think it's on for tomorrow." And Randy later added that, off the record, Hillary and her people are doing a full court press to keep Julian Assange from making the next dump. That's all I can tell you on this line. Please leave my name out of it. October 2016, Roger Stone made statements about WikiLeaks' future releases, including statements similar to those that Randy Credico made to him. For example, on October 3rd, Stone wrote to a supporter involved with the Trump campaign, and I know who this is too. This is Matt Boyle. Matt Boyle is the D.C. editor for Breitbart, where Bannon was the boss. Okay, so on October 3rd, Stone writes to Matt Boyle, the D.C. editor of Breitbart, and says, "Spoke to my friend in London last night. The payload is still coming," meaning Randy Credico. On October 3rd, Stone got an email from a reporter who had connections to a high-ranking Trump campaign official, this is Matt Boyle, that said, "Julian Assange, what's he got? I hope it's good." And Stone responded, "It is. I'd tell Steve Bannon, but he doesn't call me back." Now, the reason why I could put Steve Bannon's name is there is because I have this email. He said, "I would tell Steve Bannon, but he doesn't call me back." And that's how I know it's between Matt Boyle and Roger Stone talking about Steve Bannon. So on October 4th, Julian Assange holds this press conference, but doesn't release any materials new pertaining to the Clinton campaign. And shortly after that, Roger Stone gets an email from Bannon asking about the status of future releases by WikiLeaks. And Stone answers that Julian Assange had a serious security concern, but that WikiLeaks would release a load every week going forward. Later that day, October 4th, Matt Boyle asks Roger Stone via text message if he, quote, heard any more from London. And Stone replies to Matt Boyle, "Yes. Want to talk on a secure line? Got WhatsApp?" And Stone subsequently tells Matt Boyle that more material would be released and it would be damaging to the Clinton campaign. On October 7th, WikiLeaks releases the first set of the Podesta emails. Shortly after WikiLeaks release, and this is a person we can't fill in their name. I don't know who this is. Shortly after that release of Podesta's emails, an associate of Bannon's sends a text message to Stone saying, "Well done." I don't know who that associate is. It could be anybody. It could be a Kellyanne. It could be David Bossie. It could be Trump. It could be Junior. I don't know who that is, who texts Stone, "Well done." In subsequent conversations with senior Trump campaign officials, plural, Stone claimed credit for having correctly predicted the October 7th Podesta email releases. Here's the investigation. In or around 2017, government officials publicly disclosed there were investigations into Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election and possible links to individuals associated with the campaign. On January 13th, the chairman and the vice chairman of the Senate, Intelligence Committee, that's Burr and Warner, announced the committee would conduct an inquiry. On January 25th, the chairman and ranking member of the House, that would be Nunes and Schiff, believe it or not, they say that they are conducting an inquiry similar to the Senate's. And then on March 2017, the director of the FBI, James Comey, testifies at the House hearing, and he publicly discloses that the FBI was investigating Russian interference and possible links and coordination between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. August 2017, news reports say that a federal grand jury has been seated and has opened an investigation into this Russian government effort to interfere. All right. Stone is finally called to testify to the House, and here is what happens. In May of 2017, the House sends a letter requesting Stone voluntarily appear and produce any documents, records, electronically stored information, including email communication, recording data, tangible things, including but not limited to graphs, charts, photographs, images, other documents, regardless of form. Goes on, right? This is one of those big subpoena ducas take 'em, meaning you show up and you bring all this stuff. You bring all this document, you got documentary, you bring your emails, your texts, you bring it all. Okay, on May 22nd, Stone caused a letter to be sent to the Intelligence Committee in the House that says Roger Stone has no documents. He has no records. He has no electronically stored information, regardless of form, other than those widely available that reasonably could lead to the discovery of any facts within the investigation. Saying he has no material documents, nothing. On September 26th, Stone testifies in front of the House Intelligence Committee. And, in his opening statement, he says, quote, "These hearings are largely based on a yet unproven allegation that the Russian state is responsible for the hacking of the DNC." Well, obviously it's been proven, and we've known this since May. Okay. And the transfer of that information to WikiLeaks. Stone further says in his opening statement, "Members of this committee have made certain assertions against me which must be rebutted here today, which included the charge that I knew in advance and predicted the hacking of Clinton campaign chairman Podesta's email, and that I had advanced knowledge of the source or actual content of WikiLeaks disclosures regarding Hillary Clinton." He's now charged in this next paragraph. They say, in the course of his testimony to the House Intelligence Committee, Stone made deliberately false and misleading statements to the committee concerning, among other things, his possession of documents pertinent to the House Intelligence investigation, the source for his early August 2016 statements about WikiLeaks, requests he made for that information from Julian Assange, his communications with his identified intermediary, who is Jerome Corsi, and his communications with Steve Bannon about WikiLeaks. First charge. During his House Intelligence Committee testimony, Stone was asked, quote, So you have no emails to anyone concerning the allegations of hacked documents or any discussions you have had with third parties about WikiLeaks? You have no emails, no texts, no documents whatsoever of any nature? Stone's answer, that is correct. Not to my knowledge. In truth and fact, Stone had sent and received numerous emails and text messages during the 2016 campaign in which he talked about WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, and the possession of hacked emails. At the time of his false testimony, Stone was still in possession of many of these emails and text exchanges, including the email from Stone to Corsi on July 25th that read in part, "Get to the head of WikiLeaks at Ecuadorian Embassy in London and get the pending WikiLeaks emails that deal with the Hillary Clinton Foundation." The email Stone sent to Corsi on July 31st that said, "An associate of yours, Ted Malloch, should see Julian Assange." The email from Corsi to Stone on August 2nd that stated, "Word is friend in embassy plans 2 more dumps, one shortly after I'm back, 2nd in October. Impact planned to be very damaging." That's from Corsi to Stone. Dozens of text messages, dozens of emails, beginning on August 19 and continuing through the election between Stone and Randi Credico, in which they discuss WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. The email from Stone on or about October 3rd to Matt Boyle, the D.C. editor of Breitbart, involved with the Trump campaign, which read in part, "Spoke to my friend in London last night. Payload is still coming." And the email on October 4th between Stone and Bannon, including Stone's statement that WikiLeaks would release, quote, "a load every week going forward." By falsely claiming that he had no emails or text messages in his possession that referred to Julian Assange, Stone avoided providing a basis for the House Intelligence Committee to subpoena records in his possession that would have shown other aspects of his testimony were false. He was obstructing. And, little Devin Nunes didn't ask, for any cross-examination or, no. Okay. Well, during the House Intelligence testimony on September 26th, Stone was asked to explain his statements in August about being in contact with WikiLeaks. So Stone was specifically asked about his statement on August 8th that, quote, and this is the one to the Broward Democrats that I've been playing for, 2 years. "I've actually communicated with the head of WikiLeaks," and his statement on August 12th that he was, quote, "in communication with Julian Assange, but was not at liberty to disclose what I have." Stone responded that his public references to having a means of contacting WikiLeaks referred exclusively to his contact with Randi Credico, who Stone described as his go-between, an intermediary, a mutual friend of Julian Assange's. Stone stated that Randi, his intermediary, he then asks Randi to, quote, "confirm what WikiLeaks had tweeted on July 21st, that he had the Clinton emails and that he would publish them." Stone further stated that Randi Credico someone I knew had interviewed Julian Assange. Now remember, Randi Credico didn't interview Julian Assange till way after Roger Stone knows these leaks are coming in and puts it out to the Trump campaign, right? He said, "I merely wanted confirmation of what he tweeted on the 21st. Stone declined to name Randi Credico, but provided a description. On October 13th, Stone caused a letter to be submitted to the House Intelligence Committee that identified Randi Credico by name as the gentleman who confirmed for Mr. Stone that Julian Assange had emails related to Hillary Clinton pending publication. Stone's explanation in his August 2016 statements about communicating with Julian Assange was false. In truth and fact, the first time Randi Credico interviewed Julian Assange was on October 25th, after Stone made his August 8th and August 12th public statements. Similarly, at the time Stone made his August statements, Stone had already directed Jerome Corsi, not Randi Credico, to contact Julian Assange. And Corsi not Randi Credico, had told Stone in advance of Stone's August 8th and 12th statements that word is friend in embassy plans 2 more dumps. That was Corsi telling Stone that, including one in October October 2nd. At no time did Roger Stone identify Jerome Corsi to the House Intelligence Committee as another individual Stone contacted to serve as go-between, intermediary, or other source of information from WikiLeaks. Stone also never disclosed his exchanges with Jerome Corsi when answering the House Intelligence Committee's questions about the August 8th and 12th statements that he knew what was coming. During his House testimony, Stone was asked, quote, what was the extent of the communication with the intermediary? Stone replied, quote, I asked him to confirm that the tweet of Julian Assange on the 21st was accurate, that they did in fact have Hillary Clinton's emails, and that they would release them. Stone was then asked, did you ask your intermediary to communicate anything else to WikiLeaks? Stone falsely responded, I did not. Stone was then asked, did you ask the intermediary to do anything on your behalf? Stone falsely said, I did not. In truth and fact, Stone directed both Corsi and Randi Credico to pass on reports to Julian Assange for documents that Stone believed would be damaging to Hillary Clinton. For example, as described above, on July 25th, Stone sent Corsi an email that said, get to the head of WikiLeaks at the Ecuadorian embassy in London and get the pending emails. They deal with the foundation, Clinton Foundation. On September 18th, Stone sent a message to Randi Credico that said, I'm emailing you a request to pass on to Julian Assange, and then emailed Randi Credico an article with allegations against Hillary Clinton related to her service as Secretary of State. And Stone asked, quote, please ask Julian Assange for any state or HRC email from August 10th to August 30th, particularly on August 20th. Remember that? That mentioned the subject of this article to confirm this narrative. Okay, so he did ask both of them, and he lied about asking both of them to give messages to Julian. But on September 19th, Stone texted Randi Credico, pass my message to Julian Assange. And Randi Credico responded, I did. And the next day, Randi Credico blind copied Stone when he forwarded the request to Margaret Kunstler, William Kunstler's wife. Now, her name is not in here, okay? But I know who this is. During the House testimony, Stone was asked repeatedly about his communications with his person that he identified as his intermediary, and Stone falsely stated that he had never communicated with any intermediary in writing in any way. During the exchange, Stone falsely said he only spoke with the intermediary over the phone. Question, how did you communicate with your intermediary? Answer, over the phone. Question, and did you have any other means of communicating with the intermediary? Answer, no. Question, no text messages? No. None of the list, right? Meaning the list of documents you're supposed to produce. Later during his testimony, Stone again falsely denied ever communicating with his intermediary in writing. Question, so you never communicated with your intermediary in writing in any way? Answer, no. Question, never emailed him, never texted him? Answer, he's not an email guy. Question, so all your conversations with him were in person or on the phone? Answer, correct. In truth and fact, Stone and Randi Credico, who Stone identified as his intermediary to the House Intelligence Committee, engaged in frequent written communications by email and text message. Stone also engaged in frequent written communications by email and text messages with Jerome Corsi, who is the person who provided Stone with information regarding WikiLeaks. Written communications between Stone and Corsi, between Stone and Randi, continued through Stone's complete House testimony. On September 26, 2017, the day that Stone testified in the House, and denied ever having sent or received emails or text messages from Randi Credico. That day, Stone and Randi Credico exchanged over 30 messages, text messages. In July, Stone emailed Corsi to get to the head of WikiLeaks and obtain the pending emails. In September, Stone sent messages to Randi Credico to pass on a request to Julian Assange. On January 6th, Randi Credico sent Stone an email. The subject was Back Channel BS. In the email, Randi Credico wrote, "Well, I have put together timelines, and you said you have a back channel way back a month before I had Julian Assange on my show. I never had a conversation with Julian Assange other than on my radio show. I have pieced it all together, so you may as well tell the truth that you had no back channel, or there's the guy that you were talking to me about in early August on my radio show." During his House testimony, Stone was asked, "Did you discuss your conversations with Randi Credico or any intermediary or anyone involved in the Trump campaign?" And Stone falsely said, "I did not." In truth and fact, as described above, Stone spoke to multiple individuals involved in the Trump campaign about what he claimed to have learned from his intermediary to WikiLeaks, including the following. On multiple occasions, Stone told senior Trump campaign officials about material possessed by WikiLeaks and the timing of the releases. On or about October 3rd, Stone wrote to Matt Boyle saying, "Spoke to my friend in London last night. The payload is still coming." On October 4th, Stone told a high-ranking, this is Bannon, Trump campaign official, that the head of WikiLeaks had serious security concerns but would release a load every week going forward. On October 19, Stone sent Randi Credico an excerpt of his letter to the House Intelligence Committee that identified Randi as his intermediary to WikiLeaks. Stone urged Randi Credico, if urged by the House Intelligence Committee, to falsely confirm what Stone had previously testified to, including that it was Randi who gave Stone the early August 2016 statements about the contact with WikiLeaks. Randi Credico repeatedly told Roger Stone that his testimony to the House was false and told him, "Just go and correct your testimony." Stone did not do so. Stone then engaged in a prolonged effort to prevent Randi from contradicting Stone's false statements to the House Intelligence Committee. Around November 2017, Randi Credico got a request from the House Intelligence Committee to voluntarily testify. After being contacted, Randi texted repeatedly with Roger Stone. Stone wanted Randi to testify falsely, either saying that Randi was the identified intermediary or that Randi could not remember what he had told Roger Stone. Alternatively, Stone told Randi to invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Here are the messages. In a text message to Stone, Randi said his lawyer wanted to see him. Stone responded, "Stonewall it. Plead the Fifth. Anything to save the plan. Richard Nixon." On November 20th, Randi informed the House Intelligence Committee he would decline for a voluntary interview. On November 21st, Randi texted Stone, "I was told that the House committee lawyer told my lawyer I will be getting a subpoena." Stone responded, "That was the point at which your lawyer should have told them you would assert your Fifth Amendment right if compelled to appear." On November 28th, Randi got a subpoena compelling his testimony. Randi told Roger Stone about it. On November 30th, Stone asked Jerome Corsi to write publicly about Randi Credico. Corsi told Stone, quote, "Are you sure you want to make something out of it now? Why not wait and see what Randi does? You may be defending yourself too much, raising new questions that will fuel new inquiries. This may be time to say less, not more." And Stone responded by telling Corsi, "Randi will take the 5th. But let's hold your story one more day." On multiple occasions on December 1st, Stone told Randi that Randi should do a Frank Pantangeli in front of the House Intelligence Committee in order to avoid contradicting Stone's testimony. And then in this official indictment, it says, Frank Pantangeli is a character in the film The Godfather Part 2, which both Stone and Randy Credico had discussed, who testifies before a congressional committee, and in that testimony claims not to know critical information he does in fact know. On December 1st, Stone texted Randi, "And if you turned over anything to the FBI, you're a fool." Later that day, Randi texted Stone, "You need to amend your testimony before I testify on the 15th. And Stone responded, "If you testify, you're a fool. Because of Trump, I could never get away with asserting my Fifth Amendment rights, but you can. I guarantee you, you are the one who gets indicted for perjury if you're stupid enough to testify." On December 12th, Randi informed the House Intelligence Committee he would assert his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination if required to appear by subpoena. Randi invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege in part to avoid providing evidence that would show that Stone had lied to Congress. Following Randi's invocation of his Fifth Amendment privilege not to testify, Stone and Randi continued to have discussions about the various investigations into Russian interference in the 2016 election and what Randi would provide to the investigators. During these conversations, Stone repeatedly made statements intended to prevent Randi from cooperating. For example, on December 24th, Randi texted Stone, "I met the head of WikiLeaks for the first time this year, September 7th. For the first time this year. This does prove that. You should be honest with FBI. I am not a back channel. Be honest." Stone replied 2 minutes later, "I'm not talking to the FBI, and if you're smart, you won't either." On April 9th, Stone wrote in an email to Randi, "You are a rat, a stoolie. You backstab your friends. You run your mouth. My lawyers are dying to rip you to shreds." Stone also said I will take that dog away from you. That is Randi's dog, Bianca, the little white dog. On the same day, Stone wrote to Randi, quote, this is Stone writing to Randi, "I am so ready. Let's get it on. Prepare to die." Expletive. And that's cocksucker, is what he wrote. On May 21st, Randi wrote in an email to Stone, "You should have just been honest with the House Intel Committee. You've opened yourself up to perjury charges like an idiot. You are so full of shit. You got nothing," Stone responds. "Keep running your mouth, and I'll file a bar complaint against your friend, Margaret Kunstler, the attorney who represents Julian Assange." And so then the counts are listed, and the counts are that he corruptly influenced, obstructed, impeded, endeavored to influence, obstruct, and impede the due and proper exercise of power of inquiry under which the inquiry and investigation is being had by the House, any joint committee of Congress. Stone testifies falsely, blah, 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 and witness intimidation for threatening Randi Credico, right? And withholding documents, lying about the existence of documents, and, doing it to obstruct justice. And that is what the indictment says. And this is only as it pertains to Roger Stone. These 24 pages that we went through, and it took more than a half hour. It took an hour. Less than an hour, like 45 minutes. But it's helpful because I know these people. I don't know all of them, but I know some of them. So Roger Stone intimidated a witness who wanted to tell the truth, and the truth was that all he did was get access to Julian Assange as a person to interview on his radio show, which he had on Long Island at the time, by using a connection he has with William Kunstler, his hero's wife, Margaret Kunstler, who happens to be the lawyer who represents Julian Assange. The true intermediary, the true back channel, the true dirty trickster was Jerome Corsi, who was relaying this information through Breitbart and InfoWars to the public at large, saying that Hillary Clinton had had a stroke and, degrading her and all this, lying about that. And Jerome Corsi's testimony is he figured out it was Podesta. He was on a flight to Italy, and he just put two and two together. And there's no emails. And because his computer has been scrubbed, Jerome Corsi's has, by his son, who testified to the grand jury yesterday. And I'm sure the testimony was that he scrubbed his stepdad's computer because it didn't last very long. It was an hour. He probably went in and told the truth. And that is when they executed the warrant against Roger Stone. After that testimony was taken yesterday, the FBI was told to do like a real, criminal warrant, to do a real criminal arrest of this guy who is a traitor to his country. And for what? A little bit of money. Buy a stinking podcast.